Most aspiring young race drivers can only dream about getting a start with a big-time factory-supported race team. The reality is that opportunities are rare. A race driver is expected to pay his dues, and that might mean sleeping on a park bench, working 3 jobs simultaneously, and maybe even going to charm school. And naturally, if along the way he can attract the attention of a team manager by knocking off a world champion or two, then he's made it. That's how it usually happens. Usually, not always. Meet Ludwig Finauer, Goofy to his friends. Today, 29-year-old German-born Goofy finds himself driving an M3 rocket ship for one of the slickest factory-linked touring car teams in Australia. How he got to drive one of these black beauties is one of motor racing's fairy tales. When JPS team trump Frank Gardner went looking for a new recruit to drive a third M3, he didn't have to cast his net very far. For the last 3 years, Ludwig has been the team's engine builder, the man responsible for keeping the high-tech motors singing sweetly for Jim Richards and Tony Longhurst. Gardner has played a key role in Goofy's transition from wielding spanners to driving race cars.
I think I just about got sick and tired of running engines in at 3 hours a time, and was pleased to see somebody with more physical attributes show up on the scene and relieve me of the job. And it just carried on from there.
Running in engines at Amaroo got closet racer Finauer all fired up for the real thing. He listened hard when wily Frank weighed in with some driving advice.
As you run the engine in, you go faster and faster, and obviously Frank, was a bit worried about his car, so he gave me a few tips and hints about how to drive and what to do, what not to do. And obviously I didn't do too bad, and so that's how it all started.
Now, after 5 race meetings and just off his P-plate, Goofy is understandably nervous. But Gardner reckons his rookie driving recruit isn't really so raw.
I suppose he's new to everybody else. He's not new to me. I've had him around me for about 3 years now, and he's done an awful lot of miles, and he fits in with what we try to achieve, or what we attempt to achieve anyway. He's a pretty sensible sort of a lad, and I think he's got the right sort of stuff that whatever racing drivers are supposed to be made of.
Gardner says there's no real pressure on the new boy. BM buddies Richards and Longhurst will take the fight to the opposition while Goofy learns the ropes. And the most envied factory driver in motorsport has his game plan all figured out for today's AMSCAR clashes.
I want to stay out of trouble first thing, and don't crash or damage the car. That's the main thing. And take it easy first off, and see how we go.
With a race car that goes like the wind and Frank Gardner tutoring him on the finer points of race driving, an awestruck Goofy Finauer reckons he's found Disneyland.
This is Amaroo Park Raceway, and that's Jim Richards getting ready for today's second heat in round 1 of the James Hardie Iplex AMSCAR Series. Great day here at Amaroo, great day for this heat of the Iplex Series. Jim Richards on pole position in the BMW M3, Trevor Ashby in second spot in the Commodore, then Tony Longhurst in the second of the BMW M3s. Andrew Medicki in a Sierra Turbo qualified 4th fastest, followed by yet another BMW with Ludwig Finauer at the wheel. Car 23, the next qualifier, Terry Finnigan in a Commodore. Next up, we've got car 34, Don Smith, another Sierra Turbo. Car 37, Tony Mulvihill in a Commodore. Peter Williamson back in the Toyota Supra, car 77 qualified 9th fastest, followed by Kevin Bartlett in car 42, then car 58 David Ratcliffe, and in car 41 Glenn Clark.
News from the first heat in the Hardie Iplex Series today is that Jim Richards has a new lap record of 53.78. Did that on his 3rd lap, with now 10 seconds to go before the start of heat number 2. National flag raised, revs start to build, and it is Jim Richards who makes a very good jump in the M3. Ashby goes with him. Andrew Medicki, a nice start in the Oxo Motorsport Ford Sierra. Tony Longhurst dropping back just a little to 4th position. Finauer comes up in the 3rd of the JPS cars to 5th. and he's doing battle with Terry Finnigan. And have a look at Tony Longhurst. Elbows up and away he goes.
Loves a bit of that rough stuff, does young Tony. Ashby clips the dirt on the way out of the turn, but Richards at this stage has got a good lead over Trevor Ashby. He's holding second spot. Here comes Tony Longhurst down the outside. And he'll try and... Oh, Ludwig, my boy, you do not do that. Ludwig making a big entrance there for Frank Gardner and went straight back through the field. Tony Mulvihill, they all think their birthdays have arrived at once with the scramble down here. Well, look at this as they all go through that turn. Absolutely sideways. Poor old Ludwig. He's come out of that dead last.
Tony Longhurst, meantime, looking for a way past Trevor Ashby as they head up Vitchepave Hill for the second time. This is giving Jim Richards a clear run in front. That's what he wants. There's Frank. Looks a bit grim. And this is grim for Trevor Ashby because Longhurst's all over him like a rash.
Ashby will cling down there to the inside. Look at Tony. He wants this 1-2 routine all over again as they scored in the first heat today. But Ashby, 36-year-old, you couldn't actually call Trevor a rookie, but he's enjoying a marvellous season. Very consistent. Lansvale Smash Repairs, the sponsor.
He and Steve Reed first had a run here at Amaroo Park last year for the Better Breaks 300 in early August, and they did a very good job in the ex-Ken Matthews car. And now Tony Longhurst makes a desperate lunge on the outside in car number 4. Oh, it's really working hard at the back of this Commodore at the moment, and all the time Terry Finnigan just getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, Finnigan is taking advantage of this dice to close up, but Longhurst is desperate for a way around here. He's got this car twitching all over the track.
Giant Killer Tony. I'll tell you what, he established that name here last year. I don't know what he has for breakfast. Plenty of fibre, obviously. Down to Honda Corner. Finnigan comes up a little closer. He may have him this time. He's got the run out of the turn. We'll see what the grunt of the V8 does.
He's got to do it the hard way, though, on the outside when they come down to the right-hander. It's not the place to be.
He's not going to get round.
Excuse me, says Trevor. And I tell you what, very cool-headed Trevor Ashby that time. Pinboards are out. Bring it home straight is probably on it. Seeing poor Ludwig jumped over all the curbs and ran off the racetrack there a little earlier.
I know what he'll be doing this week.
Yes, he'll be polishing all the cars.
Longhurst still anxious to go faster. Finnigan now on his back. Longhurst drifts wide. Finnigan pokes the nose up underneath, coming down to the corner.
Oh, Tony. I tell you what, he's going to get no respite from the man on the inside. He out of the way, fella, he says.
Nice work by Finnigan.
I recall Tony doing that to Dick Johnson and Peter Brock about this time last year.
Yeah, so he can't complain. Do unto others and all that.
Tony is really having a bit of strife here at the moment. All the time Jim is getting away. The two Commodores presenting a real problem. Terry Finnigan's found a lot of pace in the last couple of months.
Wait for this one though. Here it comes. Sorry. Back. Wasn't much in that, but that was a good pass. Timed that beautifully. So Tony goes back out after Trevor Ashby again. This is a great heat. Heat number 2, the 10-lapper of the Hardy iFlex AMSCAR Touring Car Series. Ashby goes through. Finnigan waltzing around just a little that time over the top of Skyline, and Andrew Madecki now starting to come back into it in the Oxo Supercube Sierra. Give it another couple of laps. I would think you probably will see Madecki back up there running in about 4th or 5th, or Donny Smith. So we might take a look at the replay of the earlier incident with Ludwig Finauer. This is what it looked like from race cam in Ludwig's car. I have passed the field. Oh, there's Tony. And then when he jumped over the curb, they went every which way.
Short back and sides for Ludwig.
Well, just a moment, but he'll learn something from that.
Well, Ludwig left his business card on the back of Andrew Madecki's Ford Sierra, and he's pulled into the pit, so it's Don Smith in car number 34 that's up there in the second Oxo Motorsport entry. Jim Richards, second in last year's Better Breaks AMSCAR Series, the champion the year before, and the 85 Australian Touring Car Champion, reigning endurance champion. This man is a maestro at the wheel of BMWs.
And he ain't playing second fiddle to no one today.
Nope.
Established a new lap record. The development path of these M3s is certainly on an upward trend at the moment. noticed maybe it's the fact that Tony's having to work a little bit harder than Jim, but his car on occasions just appears to be a little more taily.
They're coming back across the line. 4 laps remain. Time to check out the Castrol GTX race splits. And we'll give you the gap from first. There it is, Jimmy Richards leading the race by 2.88 seconds to Trevor Ashby in 1.46, and that has closed up in the last half lap. So things looking good for Jimmy Richards. Could be a little tougher here for Trevor Ashby and Tony Longhurst, who is closing fast.
Trevor's done plenty of laps around this layout as a sports sedan driver and come up through motor racing, the school of hard knocks. He knows his way around, but I think top marks to these privateers and the Lansvale Smash Repairs car. They've got this thing mobile and they're both closing up on Jim Richards. That's Tony Longhurst and Trevor Ashby. In fact, Richards has got a problem. He's out in car number 3. The new leader is Trevor Ashby in the Commodore. Tony Longhurst nibbling at the bumper bar.
Well, there's a turn up. I don't know what went wrong there with Richards' car. He just slowed very dramatically. The other two have swooped past him, but he's continuing on.
This should get Tony fairly excited. Wait for this, folks. Tries to feint one to pull back on the inside. Trevor closed the gate on him 3 laps in a row on that corner. Do you think Tony might have picked that up?
He's pretty shrewd. He's just holding the right amount of road without deliberately balking. He's making the Commodore wide enough for Tony to have a real headache on his hands.
Well, I guess you could get a little bit unsettled looking in your rearview mirror and seeing Longhurst almost in the boot of your car, but Ashby seems to be able to ignore that and just drive his own race up front.
Well, Tony's got the pace. It's just a case of getting through, albeit 2 or maybe 3 tenths. Frank Gardner, a worried man. 2 cars down, 1 to go.
The day started so well for Frank too.
And didn't Tony lose some ground that time coming up?
Well, he keeps persisting in that outside line coming out of the late corner.
And it's gone off the boil too.
Yeah. Just wondering that time as he went past our commentary point whether there was a little misfire in the car.
It's just flat. It just sounded absolutely flat.
Oh, so does Trevor Ashby at the moment. He sounds pretty flat. He's just missed the apex by 20 feet.
It's the flat spots on his tyres, I think.
I thought he was rushing out to take a dive into Holden on the other side of the fence.
And here's Jimmy Richards in the pits. Some problem, Frank.
I think the race has run there.
First time we've seen these cars in pretty warm conditions. Calder was nigh on freezing cold. Simmons Plains wasn't a lot better. So perhaps we've unearthed something of an Achilles heel.
Just behind Trevor Ashby. You'll see it coming up shortly. And Mr. Tony finds himself under attack this time from Terry Finnigan.
Yeah.
And Don Smith is moving up on them too in the Oxo Super Cube Sierra.
KB's right in behind him in the Mitsubishi Starion.
Last lap.
Here comes Finnigan.
He moves to second.
Tony's got a problem. The car doesn't sound well at all as it goes past the commentary point.
So this looks like being a shutout for the BMs in this second heat of the James Hardy Iplex AMSCAR Series today at Amaroo Park.
Well, I was attempting to pick the daily double. I would have had the BMs 1, 2, 3 and Bone Crusher, and I've lost that all the way around. We'll go.
Well, unlike their anorexic German counterparts last weekend, these cars have got no weight problems. They've got reliability problems, strange enough.
Trevor Ashby. Terry Finnigan, there he is, 23, the CIG gases. And just back behind him is Tony Longhurst.
Quite a scrap going on here for the minor placings.
Yes.
4 cars involved as Trevor Ashby comes up. The right-hander, car number 39, the Holden Commodore, and grabs the gold. Great drive. Second placing goes to Terry Finnigan. Third and only just to Tony Longhurst, Don Smith, and Kevin Bartlett in the Mitsubishi Starion.
Well, what a turn-up for the books here today at Amaroo Park. They started so well for the BMW team. Haven't worked out all that well. Recapping on the Castrol Oils 8 Oil scoreboard. Trevor Ashby, the race winner. Second spot to Terry Finnigan. And no baloney Tony takes third.